football at its absolute best.
Yeah, they had us the first half, I'm not going to lie.
Oh, could be Wayne.
I think I got my swagger back. Oh.
I love it, baby.
Them orange britches. Something about them orange britches.
Tennessee wins! By Tennessee, Jawan Jennings. Jennings makes the catch.
Ball hit high in the air into right field. Going back is Sayre. And Tennessee can say hello, win column. A grand slam in the bottom of the ninth. You can't draw it up any better.
We just won a basketball game, and we're very happy right now.
McGrath for the win. He got it. If you don't like college football and you watch this one, I'm not sure what your problem is.
Reddit to do and welcome into more important issues. It is Sunday, August 20th. Landon is pissed off at something. I don't know why he just threw his phone down, but my word, he's ready to get going, I reckon. Thank you all for hopping onto the show. Running a little late because, like Thursday, no special interview for you all. So we're excited to get that in this episode, as well as a preview of our wide receivers and tight ends, and then continue on our rewatch of the 2022 season with Georgia. So we'll do it because we committed ourselves to this rewatch, not because we want to.
Yeah. It was.
We shouldn't have done a whole season rewatch. We should have done our.
We should have just stopped after the last one. We should have never like.
We want to do the Orange Bowl for sure.
Yeah, we should have done after Kentucky, and then we just should have done Vanderbilt and the Orange Bowl.
And in honor of that guy that said that Eli Drinkwitz owns Josh Heupel, we should have also said we're going to do Missouri, which is a wild take.
Yeah, Shandavian Bradley.
He owns him, baby. But yeah, we'll get going on that. Drop your questions in the chat if you've got them, comments, all that good stuff. Before we do jump in, I want to say how much fun the Hacker Cup was this Saturday. It was our second year at Hole 17. Great meeting everybody. Hope some of you guys that were out there are now listening, either right now or on your way to work on Monday morning. It was a fun time hanging out. We'll plan on being there next year. Hopefully we get to. And then whoever already blanked on his name. The guy that won the season tickets close to the pin. He threw one real tight.
Anderson was his last name?
Yes, I didn't want to. Yeah, we can just go last name like he's a football player. Anderson.
Yeah.
He got what foot and a half?
It was close.
It was a tough pin, kind of tricky pin. It was front pin, but not quite as front as you thought. And playing about 155, I think it was 155, playing like 153. Threw it in there real tight, so he earned it. Wasn't a cheapie. Real happy for him. Good prize pack. He got an Amari Thomas signature, couple cool little golf Tennessee accessories, if you will. And hope he enjoys the South Carolina game. I hope everyone gets to enjoy that game, honestly.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
yeah, congrats to him. Also, it was a would you say a precursor? Is that how you word it for the actual tailgate?
Yeah, it's a good time of year. I don't know if they're ever planning on changing it, but it comes just a few weeks before the season where it's our pregame. Like it's our pregame to our pregame. We get to kind of get, we don't want to just hop out there against Austin P at 7 a.m. and try to get back into the swing of things. We would never be as successful as we want to be. We got to practice. We got to plan. We got to prepare. We did that yesterday.
Yeah, we got to write down some stuff, or I guess keep a mental note of stuff that we need to get for the actual tailgate, because we're like, oh, we don't have as many tablecloths as we thought, or maybe we need cups or napkins or a bunch of other stuff. So yeah, it was fun to do that. Fun to get on the hole, be on the links, even though we didn't actually play, but we did get to hit a few times.
I threw one in pretty dang tight too. I do think he still beat me. But it was awfully tight.
It was pretty close, yeah. It's a good shot.
Would have been a birdie. I would have birdied that.
Yeah, little tweet.
Yeah, no problem. So good time. Good times had by all. Can't wait to do it again next year. Make sure you guys, we want to see I want to reverse it a little bit. If you're watching this show, you're already a fan. I want you out there. If you're already listening to this pod, I want you to come to the Hacker Cup and hang out. Next year, we're going to do a special thing. If you're already following us, we're going to do something special for you. I don't know yet what it is. But if you're already following, already listening, we'll have something for you on number 17.
Yeah, and if y'all didn't get to see, we did get some hats made. Really cool hats.
2 left?
All right.
Because Xander Seacrest, or did they all get sold?
I think they might be done.
All right, we'll work on round 2. University
There
Traditions
might
is
be
great.
one. There might be one left, but I think it's close. So
Okay.
if you want to check,
maybe another order coming up though. That's the good news.
Yep.
Thank you all for buying those. They look great. I love them. They're awesome. I hope to see some around this year. If you can't buy the More Important Issues hat and you need one for September 2nd, just go buy the Tennessee version because they're great too. That's all I pretty much wear to football games now.
Yep. Great hats. The Imperial brand is hard to beat.
Imperial.
Yeah. Wait, what did I say?
Imperial brand is Imperial.
Oh, okay. I was like, did I say it wrong?
No, you said it right.
Okay, cool. Yeah, go check them out. University Traditions did a great job on those hats.
Before we get into the full pod, let me give you guys a proper ad read for some of our favorites out there too. That is Underdog. Underdog is Knoxville's best sports collectibles store with a wide selection of UT cards, autographs, and memorabilia. Whether you're looking for a Peyton Manning autographed helmet or the most recent Topps baseball card release, you'll find it at Underdog. The shop is owned by UT graduates and proudly supports UT sports by hosting NIL events throughout the year. Stop by the 640 Plaza at 4452 Western Avenue in Knoxville. They're open 6 days a week with live YouTube shows 3 nights per week. Find a Domino's, you'll find Underdog. Remember, always bet on the Underdog. Shout out to Underdog Sports.
Yep.
Also, let's do a quick ad read for us. If you're listening right now, do me a favor. Whatever you're listening on, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. I don't know if you can share things on YouTube. Retweet it, re-exit, whatever we're calling it. Do that. Like it. Go on to Spotify or Apple. Subscribe. Leave a 5-star review. Tell your friends to subscribe and leave a 5-star review. We appreciate y'all. We love you all. Please do that.
Yep.
We never tell people to do that. I feel like we should.
Yeah, we should. Yeah.
Make me happy.
Sure. Yeah, great job on doing that because we always forget.
Thank you.
Yeah, go do that. We do have a question. You just want to go ahead and read it off?
Let's do it. Let's get right into it, dude.
Randy, already in the chat right here, says, in your opinion, best defensive player on the roster this year?
Aaron Beasley.
Yeah, I think that's it.
Or not as impactful in the grand scheme, but best in terms of like doing what he does, Amari Thomas.
Yeah, I think those two guys, if I'm going somebody different, maybe a little wild card,
okay,
I think I might go to Nico Slaughter.
Okay. Not the wild card I was thinking. I didn't know if you were going to go someone that plays, after the whistle, all that stuff, which we don't have that guy right now. May find a new one.
No. Yeah, not yet. Maybe we will. But yeah, I do think the Nico Slaughter could be, I think, the most talented right now. From what I'm hearing, I mean, I guess everybody kind of is assuming the same thing. By the time he's done at Tennessee, it might be Aaron Carter.
Oh, yeah. No, I'd agree with that. I still am. I'm excited like what's been coming out.
We haven't even seen him play one time.
That's what I'm gonna say. Like I'm excited about what's coming out, and there's been, obviously we're gonna get into it, and Ron Schumpert doesn't comment directly on that because they can only see so much. But he's talked about what other players have seen, and that excitement's there within the entire program. I am still a wait and see mode. He's a freshman, but he is gonna have a little home course advantage, right? Playing in Nashville, it's not too far from Smyrna.
Okay. Yeah.
A little home course, home track.
Okay. Yeah. Feels more comfortable, gets in the swing of things.
Exactly.
Going against a crap team in Virginia. Yeah. I like that. Mm-hmm. Wearing 7, you're a single digit. You got to play well.
You have to. That's what we also talk about. I feel like I'm just going to ruin the interview, but I won't get into what we talk about with Ramel Keaton, but talk about him not being too flashy. It's going to be hard this year. Wearing a single digit. He might look a little flashier.
It's true. He is in number 9, which wearing 7, you're seeing that number hasn't stood out since Derek Barnett, and that was on defense. So I'm thinking offensively, was it Marquez Callaway? Was he number 9 his freshman year? I think he ran a punt back
he
in
was.
2016.
What was Preston Williams? Was he in 9?
I don't remember what Preston Williams was. He wasn't here very long.
No, he wasn't. I feel like I remember him. Did he score a touchdown? I feel like I may remember him scoring.
Vaughn Pearson was number 9.
Vaughn Pearson was number 9. That may be who I'm thinking of. Not really entirely sure, but yeah, that's going to be tough to hide that guy. But hey, we'll see what we can do. On that note, let's jump into wide receivers and the pass catching guys, the wide receivers and tight ends, because they do more than block. Shout out to them.
Yeah, which one do you want to do first, tight ends or wide receivers?
Let's do wide receivers. We're already talking about them.
Yeah, let's do it. I think veterans all across. And I think it's wild that this is arguably one of the most talented positions on this team, and you're replacing 2 third-round draft picks.
Yeah, there's
That
definitely
doesn't happen very often, but I think
No.
that's why you're in. I think no matter who you have personnel-wise, you're going to have good wide receivers in this offense. From now on, you're going to have talented guys that want to come here. I mean, Mike Matthews committed. Nathan Laycock last year was a high-profile guy, so you're going to get talented guys in here. So I don't think that's a position you're going to have to worry about it ever.
Yeah, absolutely. There's definitely still some, because there's even like Squirrel White. Yeah, he performed well when called upon, but he's going to have a different role this year. So I'm kind of curious, like how does he take a next step? Does he fill that void? Maybe that, like a Jalen Hyatt left with the speed factor. Not can't be entirely sure, but the fact of the matter is, there is talent there, and it's going to be interesting to see how the coaching staff uses it. I mean, they're going to try to find a way to get the balls into the playmakers' hands, period. And so it's good that you have playmakers, where sometimes in the past you've been searching for who are those playmakers going to be.
Yeah, I was doing kind of a little bit of math in my head, and the 4 guys that are, probably in that first group of wide receivers, and Squirrel and Dante and Ramel and Brew, those 4 guys combined for like 2,000 yards last year.
Yeah, which is crazy because Ramel started for over half the season.
Mm-hmm.
But we said that in Kentucky game, he got quite a few touches, but that's pretty insane. You're returning 2,000 yards with what you lost, and I know Cedric wasn't much of a factor last year, but still.
Well, yeah, and Squirrel White didn't play that much and still had 30 catches, almost 500 yards. I mean, if you get playing time in this offense, no matter if you start or not, I think there's opportunity to make plays.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm interested. I kind of want to go tight ends first because I think the lack of depth at tight end
we're halfway through wide receivers.
I know, but forces this staff to play 4 wide receivers.
You think we see it this year?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I think, who are you leaving out? You're not leaving out Ramel. You're not leaving out Brew. I think Dante Thornton, if he's as talented as everybody's saying he is, he's playing. And Squirrel White, I think you have to play 4 guys.
I mean, I personally would love that, but I think I could have made the same argument last year, seeing how talented Squirrel White was.
Yeah, it's true.
And then do we ever see it if Cedric doesn't go down? Because then you also have Ramel Keaton in that lineup.
Yeah.
Who would be your 4th guy? So I would love to see it. And I'm not asking for it every down. Or every drive. But I think it would be, you're already stretching the defense as thin as possible. What could you I do think Josh Heupel and previously Alex Golish, but we're very willing to throw in new packages, sometimes for just the sake of doing new packages, but I think also to throw a wrinkle in to have difficulty defending. I mean, for God's sakes, they put a fullback on the field. I mean, this is supposed to be the most high-powered offense, and we're going back to 2006 or even later than that and seeing a fullback on the field. So I think they're willing to do it. I hope they do it. I would like to see it, but I'm not convinced yet.
Yeah, I guess it's one of those, you got to see it to believe it. But I just think with those 4 guys, I feel like you have to somehow, maybe you don't see 4 wides, but I think the amount of snaps all 4 of those guys, I think you have basically 4 starters there.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I would 100% agree with that.
I mean, part of why tight ends are so important is because they just don't sub. And I know we're going to talk about that later on with Ryan Schumpert, but they just don't sub. And so when you're not subbing, you're not switching out receivers, or you're not switching I guess the amount of personnel that you have. Now you might switch out a receiver now and then because runs a fade route. Maybe we get a sack. You're throwing a guy in there so he doesn't have to run all the way back and try to run another one. So
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know where do we want to start or where do we want to break in? Do you want to? You tell me. You're the guy in charge.
I don't know. I'm interested to see how good Dante Thornton is. We do have a question about that. Walter MacArthur says, "How do we feel about Dante Thornton?" I mean, I feel like you have to feel good, which what's coming out right now, but it is that kind of wait to see. That I mean, why didn't I guess the question? Why didn't he have better numbers at Oregon?
Yeah, I'm patiently optimistic about him. I mean, there was a lot of worries about Jalen Hyatt even 1 year into Josh Heupel's offense, and then he exploded. Dante Thornton doesn't necessarily get that same grace period. Going to just be a learning curve from the get go. So I'm patiently optimistic, but it's very clear that like that's the ability is there. What's I guess the buy-in factor because that seemed to be a big part of Jalen Hyatt in year one. Like maybe if he buys in, year one is different. So I'm interested to see, but it's also one of those things. Like if he doesn't show out early, you just mentioned the other three guys, he may not see the field very often.
Yeah, and I guess that is the good thing is like I mean this staff, if you're not getting it done, they'll just play three guys.
Right.
If they don't feel comfortable playing anybody else, they're not. So yeah, if Dante Thornton, if the buy-in isn't there, then and I'm not saying it's not.
No, I'm just
and I don't think
speculating
really
in terms of like we don't know anything.
But a guy that's 6'5", 205 that runs a 4.4 and has good hands, why the heck is he only having 17 catches at Oregon?
Right.
So
I think it's a fair like concern, but also,
but the good thing is he's going to be open.
yeah, and this offense is a little bit more high powered than even the best of Bo Nix.
It's true, yeah.
So I'm okay right now. I'm okay right now.
I'm interested, but I think you have a great option with Brew McCoy. I mean, doing the rewatch, you were talking, I think, in the interview about Ramel, coming up in huge moments. Dude, Brew McCoy is that same way. I mean, he scores that touchdown right before the half against Florida. He has that big catch at Pitt. He has the catch against Alabama to set up that field goal. I mean, he dominated against LSU. I think he had 140 yards, had a great game in the Orange Bowl. I mean, he showed out the entire year and only had like 600 yards, but there he was in big moments, and now he's set up to probably make an even bigger impact. Over there, kind of, I guess, I don't know what receiver they call it, different stuff, but in college, that was the Y that was kind of out by itself,
Right.
And so he kind of fits that mold, and he's a big dude and can block and do a lot of things. So I'm super excited about Brew McCoy and kind of what he brings, and he just has that kind of it factor about him.
Yeah, which makes me curious for him how he seemed to be that go-to guy in big moments. Seemed to always be there and be sound, and you assume he gets the ball. He's the most seasoned guy on the roster right now at wide receiver, so you assume he gets the ball more. Can he handle that full load? I'm kind of curious. Like that's my question. It's not like how good will Brew be, all that. We know how good he is, but handling the full load. Can he do that? I'm interested to see.
Yeah.
I don't know why he couldn't. Tell me why he couldn't. How about that?
Right. Yeah. I mean, they're going to do a lot of stuff like we saw at Georgia. Like if they're going to run some fade routes, and if they're not there, they just come back to the football and you get a 5-yard gain. And if they break a tackle, then it's off to the races. I think you'll see a lot of that from him. You'll see a lot of where they kind of split out wide and stack, and one just goes blocks the corner, and the other one just stands there and catches the ball and runs up the field. So
yeah.
It doesn't have to be anything flashy with these receivers. They're going to get theirs regardless. And I'm excited to see kind of what everything we're hearing about Joe is, good. He's a good leader, and he's got rapport with these receivers. He had great rapport with Ramel Keaton and Squirrel White because he threw to him so much last year for them being, part of that second team offense. So I think that's something to watch too. Is like, who is his favorite target? It was 2 years ago. Hennon's favorite target was Cedric Tillman, and there was no doubt about it. Even the first of last year against Pitt, it was Cedric Tillman. Then it became Jalen Hyatt. But who's Joe's? It seemed like last year during mop up time when he was in, it was Squirrel. So we'll see that
a guy named Squirrel too. So I get it.
Yeah, for sure.
I would love it. I do. Can I rant for just a moment?
Yeah, please.
So I had a fantasy football draft today. If you guys are just getting in,
You drafted.
I wouldn't have taken Jalen Hyatt as high as, and it was a rookie draft, but as high as he was taken still. But a Tennessee fan, strangely enough, which credit to them, maybe they just wanted to seem unbiased. Made the comment he's not going to be good. He was in a gimmicky offense, and like to an extent, there's a level.
This?
I won't name names.
You got to call them out.
I'm not naming names. I'm not doing that. But
tell me after.
But and like I'll hear you out. Like, yeah, sure. Some of his touchdowns were just, scheme where he's butt naked open. Sure. But he scored 17 touchdowns. It wasn't all 17 of them.
Yeah.
And then sure, and he did get more space to work with, but he's like, he wasn't just covered in, like, he wasn't like, oh, well, let's scheme this down. And he's still barely breaking from these guys. No, he's still got butt naked open from, yes, wide splits. But let's look at all these Alabama wide receivers that have come out in recent years and been some of the best wide receivers recently in the NFL. I bet 60% of the touchdowns they're just taking slants to the house because they're playing man coverage. And they just get to catch a 3-yard slant and then beat one guy. I know it's not gimmicky, but like it's the same level of like, what are they really doing that's going to translate to the NFL? And that was never talked about. So I don't get it. And then also now Jalen Hyatt's playing good in preseason, in camp, and then in preseason games. And the same thing's being said. I just don't get it. And I'm not sitting here parading Jalen Hyatt as the best rookie wide receiver. It might be Cedric Tillman, by the way, another Tennessee guy. But I'm not sitting here parading Jalen Hyatt as the best. I'm just sick of hearing the same talking points when he's proven those talking points wrong.
Well, I just don't get it because it's like he's getting hammered for being open.
Right.
And I would way rather a receiver be open and make a catch. That's more impressive than not being open and making a catch. I think a better receiver gets open more.
Yeah, I think there is a level to, yes, but I think there is a level like Cedric's probably going to be, what's going to make him better is like the corners in the NFL are just exceptional and they get away with a little bit more, which they probably should. If I had to try and stop some of the dudes that are running there, I'm not doing it without grabbing their jersey. Okay. Doesn't matter how athletic you are. You're running backwards against them. But yeah, Cedric's probably going to be a little more successful because he can go up and challenge guys and make catches very consistently. But yeah, Jalen gets open and that's a sane thing to be a knock on a guy.
Yeah.
And the same talking point. He can't run routes. Show me where he can't run routes. On film, show me where he can't run routes. Why is he getting open in preseason camp if he can't run routes? Why is he getting open in preseason games if he can't run routes? Show me on film where Jalen Hyatt can't run routes. Because I'm sick of this. Oh, how is he open if he can't run routes?
If a route results in a touchdown, who gives a shit what it looks like?
What does that mean?
It doesn't mean.
What does it mean?
It's just their way of coping to. I don't know. I don't like. All we heard was Keely Ringo dominated Cedric Tillman. I just rewatched that Georgia game. He made one good play in the end zone where we basically threw it up for grabs and it was too far and Keely Ringo caught it. The rest of the game,
he did make a really good catch.
Yeah, but the rest of the game, Cedric Tillman had his number.
Yeah,
with a bum ankle.
He's very good.
So
Cedric Tillman's very good, but
yeah,
Keely Ringo's very good.
I don't understand the gimmick. I guess the New York Giants have a gimmicky offense because he's scoring a ton in practice and he scored a touchdown in the preseason game. So,
sorry, I just had to. We were talking about wide receivers and these guys leaving. I just had to talk about it. So, because it was an insane that I'm hearing the same talking points when he proves them wrong over and over and over again. And sure, maybe 7 of his 17 touchdowns, he scored butt naked open, but he did not score all 11 butt naked open, or the other 11, 10, 11, whatever I said, butt naked open.
Well, that's like, I mean, be better. Opposing teams, be better. I mean, like Kentucky, you see a guy have almost 700 yards, or I'm sorry, 400 yards and 7 touchdowns the past 2 weeks, and you somehow forget that he's on the field and leave him butt naked. That's your problem. That should be a knock on Jalen Hyatt because other people can't cover him.
Well, and in like the LSU play late after that turnover is a great example. He beats the guy with one move, and we're gonna sit here and just say it's because of scheme, not because his change of pace is absolutely incredible.
Yeah,
I'm sure that split, that really wide split, threw that DB real far back on his heels, and just he couldn't handle it. It was such a wide split, he didn't know what to do.
Yeah, if it's so easy, that's what everybody would do.
And like the other insane thing to me is the same people can't parade how good the SEC is, and then sit here and say it's so easy for Jalen Hyatt because it's the SEC or whatever. Like, it doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah. Well, Marvin Harrison Jr. should have won the Blitnikoff apparently too.
Correct. They also would have won that game. I don't know if they would have won. It would have been very interesting if he had not gone out of that Georgia game. I don't think they would have won. It would have been very interesting. It was still very interesting. But whatever. I hope Deontay Thornton can run routes. I hope they are very crisp. But Jalen Hyatt can run routes too, apparently. So
yeah, they're gonna be open. So hey, if a touchdown results in if a route results in a touchdown, that's the greatest route you can run.
What coach or defensive back said Jalen Hyatt can only his route tree is a stick or something like that?
It was somebody for the Cowboys, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
Are you talking about when he was like working out?
Maybe that was it. I thought someone said it just away from Jalen Hyatt, but yeah, that may have been it.
Yeah, he was like, all you run is go routes. He's like, are you saying I can't run routes? That dude got drafted by the Giants, which is in their division. So I think
my man doesn't watch tape. He just exposed himself. Doesn't watch tape.
Johnny Manziel, baby. Just go out there and show out.
It's hilarious.
Let's go to Todd. I mean, wide receivers, I think it's going to be just fine. I don't think they're going to have much of a drop off. I think that is pretty insane that you don't. Given who you
lost. Their job gets harder. And it's not like I think Joe Milton's bad, but I mean, you are going to catch a 10-yard pass at 106 miles per hour. So good luck.
Yeah. Get those.
I hope you've been on the jug machines from about a yard away to simulate that.
Yeah. I wonder how often they have to get new gloves. I mean, I guess they probably get some every game, I would assume, but I'm sure he's just wearing out them gloves.
Yeah. Oh yeah. New ones every drop.
I wonder if wide receivers, you know how like you take an ice bath and you're kind of like up in the give your arms up on the side. I wonder if like receivers have to put theirs like in a separate like tub next to it.
Could they not just use the same tub?
I guess they could. I don't know. I don't know what's more comfortable.
It's colder in the other two.
I never took an ice bath in college.
Really? I love ice baths.
Maybe that's why I wasn't very good, but I couldn't do it.
Oh, they're awesome, I think.
I think they're disgusting, honestly, too.
Okay. That's kind of, I mean, at that point, that's a fair point.
Yeah. Pretty gross. Like the people that were in it before me, I just think about that. I'm just like, I'm good.
You got to be first, baby.
Yeah. Yeah. I wasn't quick enough, I guess.
All right. Let's talk tight ends a little bit. I also like that. Again, I hate to just like spoil everything, but I'm not the only one that calls him Callum McCastles accidentally. How often is a Mick MC?
Sure.
The first.
It doesn't happen.
Throws me off.
Yeah, tight ends, thin group, but you do have a veteran in Jacob Warren who's been here forever, super senior, local guy, and then you have a transfer in McCallan Castles, and then you have a freshman in Ethan Davis who, really showed out in the spring game. Or the orange and white game, I don't know, whatever you call it. I guess we didn't even have one this year. Or I guess we did.
We
But
did. That was last year. They did
last
that
year we did
closed one. They did
Yeah.
one, but it was closed.
Yeah. And he looked promising, and then has the collarbone injury, but it is back from that. But I mean, I don't know like what the freshmen look like in terms of uh, production, like who has the biggest production. I assume maybe it's Aaron Carter, but I think Ethan Davis is probably right there just based off like what they have at that position.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think he's going to see, which you saw some rotation there last year with Warren. Like, they're not just playing one guy ideally. Like, they'd like to get everybody in the mix. Even though Jacob Warren and Princeton Fant were like very similar types. Whereas this season, maybe you have different strengths to the guys. So I do think you see them a little bit of a rotation. I think it seems like they really like McAllen Castles too, who's a little bit more, who's more similar to Jacob Warren than maybe Ethan Davis is. I also think just being a veteran guy who's been around this level or this game for a while, that's got to be a benefit to you. Probably going to get utilized more, at least at the start for sure. So yeah, I think they've got a good. There's no one I guess that really stands out right now, just above, head and shoulders above, and maybe that's because Ethan Davis is young. Because we've heard it, just how talented he truly is. But right now, maybe no one that stands out head and shoulders above the rest. So I think you see a good mix this year, and I think you see a couple Ethan Davis touchdowns.
Yeah, I'd like to see it. I mean, I know we talk about it a little bit with Ryan here, and I'm not going to take away from his thunder, but Jacob Warren's been in the system, kind of knows the ins and outs of this offense, what's expected out of the tight end position. It's not just catching passes. It's a lot of dirty work, a lot of other stuff, and it just seems like having Jacob Warren kind of mentor this group a little bit, because Ethan Davis, I don't think there's any doubt that Ethan Davis is probably your most talented in this room. Now he's a freshman. That's hard to come in.
Right.
And he played mostly wide receiver in high school. Played basketball a lot. Didn't even play much of football. He got injured before his senior season, so didn't even get to really play his senior year at all. But it does seem like your most talented guy in that room. But it's a little bit more than just going out there and catching a pass. It's a lot of physicality and different stuff like that you got to understand. And so that's why I think you'll see a lot of Jacob Warren. Now, I'm interested to see if they kind of use Jacob Warren as they use Princeton Fant, or is it a little bit like use Jacob Warren here some, use McAllen Castles here, Ethan Davis some, because you're going to play two guys. Jacob Warren, although he had only 12 catches, 163 yards, he still played quite a bit. So one of those other two guys are going to play a lot, and you'll probably see three of them throughout the entire season.
Yeah. Which I think is a good problem to have at tight end.
But losing Princeton Fant, that's a big loss, because he did score how many? 9?
Versatile too, man. Just versatile.
Did he score 9 touchdowns?
That seems low.
5 or
right. Yeah. I mean, that's what's crazy. Like, we talked about him lining up at fullback at one point. Like, he also just lined up at running back just last week in our rewatch.
Yeah.
So I like the versatility, man. A true lunch pail guy, if you will.
He threw one.
Threw one.
Ran for 5. He went up in that Missouri game and just mossed somebody in the back of the end zone. So he did a lot of things for you. A lot of things that kind of went under the radar a little bit, and you probably didn't know what you had until after the season was over. And you're like, that Princeton fan is pretty damn good.
I will say this, and I'm not trying to dog anybody previously, but I think Ethan Davis takes the seam to the house this year. He finishes the play.
Okay, not getting hawked.
Not getting hawked. No more coming up short on those.
I would like nothing more than like an 86 or even a 34 from McAllen Castles just streaking down the middle of the field, just butt naked.
86-yard touchdown?
I'm talking 86 is what I think the number Davis has.
Yeah, okay. I thought that's what you meant, but then you just mentioned McAllen, so I was confused. Okay.
Yeah, 86 or 34 just catching a seam and taking it
Yeah.
65 yards to the house.
I have some faith in Ethan Davis. I don't know if he ever gets his number in a yards for a touchdown. That would be crazy.
Okay.
I don't know if he ever does that. No, I don't know if he ever does. Actually, do you just want to say he does just in case?
I mean,
clip it. Hold on. Ethan Davis, number 86, scores an 86-yard touchdown. Clip that just in case.
Yeah, okay. I like that.
There you go. Do you want me to redo it so you can say I agree so we're both in on this?
Yeah, do it.
Okay, ready?
Yeah.
Number 86, Ethan Davis, catches an 86-yard touchdown pass this season.
I'm in. Yeah, I agree.
Write it down. Noted.
Yep.
All right, that's our segment called Just in Case for future reference. Just in case.
Yeah. Just in case we were right.
Yeah.
We go back and
even though we may not entirely believe it ourselves,
we have a receipt.
We said it. All right. Where are we at? Sorry. That's our tangent.
We're still talking.
We have a tangent,
I guess.
We're doing good.
Yeah, I don't really know what else. I do think the lack of depth probably helps. Maybe you can go 4 wide receivers. I mean, especially if Dante Thornton is 205, 6'5". I mean, can he not throw a block in there every now and then?
I just like that you said we're talking tight ends. Are we going to see 4 wide receivers this year?
Yeah, I mean, sorry, dude. I'm a wide receiver hard. I just need that. I need that in my life. I need 4 wides, baby.
Listen, I think you could certainly see it. You could argue that when Ethan Davis is on the field, you have 4 wide. You just, you kind of mentioned his background. You could argue that. Whereas that hasn't necessarily been the case. We also, I think in a different way and not as skillful way. I'm not, maybe because of the color of his skin, but McCallan Castles, is also more of probably that downfield threat than even Jacob Warren. So even with him, I do think as Josh Heupel recruits and this offense continues to get better, we're not going to be as frustrated by the lack of pass catching abilities by the tight ends.
Yeah.
So we may see 4 wide receivers in a different way.
Okay. Yeah.
But I'm with you. I would like to see Brew, Ramel.
Or we go no running back. We go empty. We have a tight end and 4 wide receivers.
Okay. I think I would like to see take the tight end out and empty. Give me Dylan Sampson or Jalen Wright out there.
We go 5 wide,
full 5 wide. But you can all, you can shuffle those guys out. So
who's the 5th wide receiver? Is it Caleb Webb, Chaz Nimrod? I've heard good things from them too. So whoever it is,
probably Caleb Webb, right?
Yeah, throw him out there.
I think you do. I think you go running back, motion him out, get a little stomp. We don't see stomps very often anymore. It's all this. I don't like it. I want a good stomp.
Yeah, I'd like to go. Let's do quads and then. Quads on one side, and then opposite side, we run the speed option.
Nick Saban would have an aneurysm if he saw 4 wide receivers stacked. I mean,
and then we ran speed option to the opposite side. Yeah, he wouldn't know what to do.
There'd be a whole press conference on how the game of football is coming to an end if that happened in the SEC. Right. It probably has already happened, but it probably didn't work, and so it's never been done again. Lane Kiffin would go on a rant about how NIL is just ruining the sport and you guys are legalizing cheating. I mean, they have 4 wide receivers on the field at the same time in the same spot.
Right. Well, dude, I mean, I guess we're about to get into Georgia, but I mean, Darnell Washington was basically another tackle that could catch a football, and that pissed me off.
He truly, and then it doesn't stop there for them.
Yeah, then that's not even their best tight end.
It's not their best tight end. Yeah. Brock Bowers is really freaking good, and it pisses me off.
Yeah, I hate him. All right, you want to get
into
How
does the Blitnikoff work? Can you win it as a tight end?
The Mackey is the tight end award.
Right, but I saw on a graphics, I don't know if it's real, that Brock Bowers had really good odds to win the Blitnikoff.
Really?
It could have been just a joke. I might have gotten got. I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know.
Okay. I was just curious. He's essentially a wide receiver.
Yeah.
Good question. All right, let's jump to Georgia.
Yeah, this is tough, but let's set the stage a little bit.
I think we can get in and out of here pretty quick. I'm not against it.
Yeah, that's fine. Number 1, Tennessee. Sounds pretty cool. It only lasted for a week, but it sounded good.
I'm still conspiracy on this. They made us number 1 to piss Georgia off.
Oh, 100%. That's exactly what it was. Number 3, Georgia. I mean, they could play like Kirby Smart has dreamt of this day since they became like really good. That they aren't number 1 anymore, so they're the underdog.
He was panicking going into this one, thinking, "How am I going to motivate these guys?"
Yeah, and then we just gave it right to him. But yeah, this one was in Athens, 3:30, CBS, of course. Gary Danielson, just loving it. Georgia was a 10-point favorite going into this one. Sellout crowd, 92,746. It's not that impressive. Yeah, it was tough to watch. I do think Tennessee belonged on the field. I think they ran into a buzzsaw. They ran into a really good team that was better than them, had more depth than them, had more talent than them. But also, like, we had a way better showing than TCU did in the national championship.
Yeah, and I'm going to say this next part. I don't mean, like, I don't think Tennessee ever had a chance. But going into this game, I did feel fairly good. Like, I feel like Tennessee played really good football. It could be a game. And I'm not with the Georgia fans that are like, it could have been a blowout. Yeah, it could have been, but you didn't do it, huh? That's weird.
Yeah.
So y'all just took it easy on Tennessee. Good for you. Y'all are really nice. I'm sure that's what Kirby Smart was thinking on the headset. Mm-hmm. For me, and like at the start of this rewatch, I did kind of get reminded of it. That opening drive recover that results in a field goal, results in part of it being because you shoot yourself in the foot. You're just like hurting yourself, and then you have to settle for a field goal with really good field positioning. Kind of felt like it set up the day. Like no matter what you did well, it all got negated by something, either by your own doing, penalties, or Georgia just played really good. It just never felt like everything could go Tennessee's way all at once. Now you could never stack chips, and it was just a really hard day. And it kind of felt like that even when you got something positive, it went that way. And then there was a point later in the game. I'm not trying to jump around too much, but where you fumble, then you get the ball back, and then you can't go score. You can't do anything with the resulting drive, and it's very frustrating. Like it's again, never felt like you could really get any momentum going. You would change the tide real quick just to have it right back on you.
Yeah, it was like we were, our car was stuck in the mud. Like,
yeah,
you get it going for a second, then you'd fall right back into the hole that you just made because it just kept spinning.
We didn't have 4-wheel drive that day.
No, we didn't. We didn't
have 4-wheel drive.
And I felt like at the point where you're just like, man, we gotta keep throwing it because we don't have time left, and then it just poured rain. Right. So I mean that famous song by Luke Combs, "When It Rains, It Pours." That's exactly what it seemed like in this game.
No Tracy Chapman though, that's for sure.
No Tracy Chapman. Yeah, it was just like there was times where we would get the ball out in space and we let one guy take us down, and we just couldn't break that tackle to break a big playoff. And it seems like any time that they tried a big play, there's a couple, the one to Ladd McConkey, the one to Arian Smith early on in the game, like they took shots and hit on them. We tried to take our shots and we couldn't hit on any of them.
Right. And that's another, like, credit to Stetson Bennett. He played really well. And I'm not saying like he didn't at other times in the season, but we were really hoping we would get the Missouri Stetson Bennett. And instead we got an SEC championship level Stetson Bennett.
Or even a Florida. The week before, he had 2 interceptions.
We would have loved to have that Stetson Bennett.
Yeah, we didn't get any of that. But, I mean, I do think we belonged on the field. We made them earn it. We had 2 turnovers. Just couldn't really do anything with it. Jalen Hyatt gets – I'm not making excuses because Tennessee lost this football game. But Jalen Hyatt, earlier in that game, gets a little banged up. Cedric Tillman's coming back for the first time pretty much after his ankle injury, and – it just didn't seem like our offense kind of had any flow. And if we did get a couple first downs here and there, like you said, we'd shoot ourselves in the foot with a false start or, some sort of pre-snap penalty that just negated everything. Yeah. Just took all the all the wind out of the sails.
Right, and I think too, like we've talked about it throughout this rewatch and how important the running game is for Tennessee. And they didn't run the ball poorly necessarily, but they kind of the same thing I was just talking about, how they can never build and build. Like they could not run the ball grouped, like they couldn't run consistently well, and that made it tougher on the offense. Georgia jumped out to an early loop, built a really a good lead early, and you mentioned it, like Tennessee felt like they had to throw the football a lot, so it took away from the run game, made it more difficult on Tennessee's passing game. Georgia had one of the best pass rushes in football history, in college football history that year. Like it was truly a stacked deck against Tennessee, and then they just didn't help themselves at times. So,
yeah, the reason Georgia's so good is they dominate the line of scrimmage. And you look at the sacks in the game. They had 6, we had 0. I mean, we couldn't touch Stetson Bennett. And
that play to Lad McConkey, I mean, play action that felt like it took forever to develop.
Yeah, and we were nowhere close to him.
No.
Yeah, just a tough game. Secondary didn't have a great day at all. I guess you could say that for a lot of games last season, but just really couldn't get going. Just caught out of position, bad communication, whatever it was, bad tackling at some points. And Stetson Bennett kind of picked you apart. And you saw in Stetson Bennett's throw, I think it was today or yesterday, how bad his interception was. I mean, like we made him look like he was a Heisman candidate.
Right.
So you're welcome, Stetson Bennett, for getting you in that room for that ceremony. You're welcome.
Also, I hate to do this, but in the sake of me being a true Tennessee football fan and trying to find someone to blame besides the team, whatever fan decided to call the starting quarterback for the opposing team hundreds and hundreds of times that night, to that I say F you.
Just more motivation.
Like, why piss them off? That's what I want to know. Why?
That's honestly kind of funny.
Yeah,
the fact that he just let it ring, like
you got beat.
Well, yeah, but like, why who told the story? Stetson Bennett tell the story?
I don't remember. I think it was told. I don't know. I don't know how it got out.
I think that's funny because I'm like, the first time I'm just like blocking that person. The fact that they did it multiple times and he didn't, that seems.
See, I would think he blocked. I would just assume he either turned off his phone or blocked him at one point. You probably don't do it on the first one. You don't get a random call and block him on the first one.
Mm-hmm.
But the 10th one, yeah, you're blocking him.
I'm thinking 2.
But he also could have been. It also could have been from different numbers, too, because the number got like sent out.
Yeah, just a bunch of frat guys just tossing around their phones.
If Tennessee's starting quarterback's number ever gets leaked, I know I'm calling it that night, and I'm like, "Go Dogs, baby!" Like I'm motivating them.
Clip that, Joe.
Why is this 865 number calling me saying "Go Dogs"? I'll start 6-7 that. Don't worry.
Man, Tennessee's rushing 42 attempts, 94 yards.
Well, that's also adding in Hendon Hooker's attempts.
Yeah,
and he only had 17 yards. Like Jalen Wright ran the ball okay.
Yeah, I thought he looked good at times. Yeah.
So, Jabari went down in this game, right?
But they played like that's how you are able to negate like how good this offense is. You're able to man coverage on the outside and stack the box. If you're able to get pressure on the quarterback, then it's effective. If you're not, then we tear you apart.
Yeah.
And like you said, that was one of the best defenses probably ever. It's either this year or last year. One of those teams probably the best ever. Yeah. But yeah, they had the talent, they had the depth, and that's why they went on to win a national championship.
Yeah. So we'll see if Tennessee can bounce back next week against Missouri. I don't know. Eli Drinkwitz owns Josh Heupel, so we'll see.
He's also pretty good in the fourth quarter, isn't he?
Yeah, for sure. All right, guys, we're going to go to our interview with Ryan Schumpert. We will be back next week we'll do position previews and all that, and then review A games, some games. I don't know. But we got to figure this out, do the math. But we're going to go this interview with Ryan Schumpert. Then we'll be back. We've had some questions in the chat, so we'll get those when we get back. Hope you guys enjoy Ryan Schumpert from Rocky Top Insider. Keep us now after a short little break there after the World Series. We now welcome onto the show Ryan Schumpert of Rocky Top Insider. He's been covering the Vols for a while now, but also through fall camp. We may flash back to a little baseball. We like talking baseball, so I won't promise because Landon's a wild card, so I won't make any promises.
You never know. Never know.
Ryan, we appreciate you hopping on, especially this time of year, starting to get really, really busy for you, but I know it's exciting. How's it like being back on campus now after a short little break there after the World Series?
Yeah, the World Series really shortens that summer break for sure. But no, it's been good. I think it'll be probably less good this week when students get back. I got to start battling them for parking on campus. That's never fun. But no, it's all's good in August, and obviously super excited for football season to get started.
Do they have a media lot? I feel like y'all should get your own parking spot. Well,
No,
there's not enough parking
not.
spots even for students either, right?
No. Yeah, I think that's the issue. They're low on parking to begin with, so they're not throwing any bones to the media.
Yeah.
So you're telling me if I can work on forging student parking passes for media members and I sell that on the black market, that'd be good for me.
Yeah, I think at a discounted rate, you could definitely get some buyers, including myself.
All right, something we may think about selling in the More Important Issues store in the future. So we'll see about that. What's kind of the vibe around this? I think there's a lot of expectations, maybe more than last year. Even though still some questions, but what's kind of that vibe, if you will, going into Virginia and still in camp?
I think vibes are pretty good, and I would agree that I think expectations are even a little bit higher than last year, and I think interest is kind of drummed up a little bit. Not that people weren't interested last year, but it's been really, really good, and I think we'll probably get into a lot of fall camp stuff, but maybe more than anything, what's clicked with me, or I feel like I've just grown in my confidence in Joe Milton, and more than anything, just where his floor is at. I think I had for a lot of the offseason, and for good reason, like I thought that the bottom could just fall out for Milton, and obviously that's still possible. A couple bad games, but I just feel a lot better at. He's not going to be terrible, and he's just been so solid in camp and was so solid in the Orange Bowl. And certainly there's some questions with the offensive line, but I think they got enough around them. And if Joe Milton is good, I think Tennessee's floor is dramatically raised, which I guess isn't too original of a statement. That's probably true with just about every college football team this time of year.
Yeah, and like having Joe, I know it is a small sample size of him just, being good, I guess, on the field is what we're looking for. But how do you feel as Tennessee as opposed to like other teams like Georgia and Alabama and Ohio State that have to break in a brand new starter?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's certainly an advantage because I think Heupel, more than anything, Heupel and Joey Halsley, they have such an understanding of what Milton's are, what his shortcomings are, where he needs to be helped along. And I think that's pretty invaluable. And some of these guys have, like Carson Beck, Georgia's program for multiple years, and we'll see who ends up winning the Alabama quarterback job. It could be the case, but it's just different when you've had them starting games and you've been preparing them to start for half a fall camp back in 2021. That you really seen the development that I think, even though Joe Milton wasn't the guy for a year and a half, I don't think the vision ever broke for Heupel and his staff that Milton's going to be the guy in 23. And I think that's kind of a real advantageous for Tennessee, that even though they are breaking in a new quarterback, I think it's, it sets up to be a lot more seamless than maybe that can be pretty often.
Yeah, and you mentioned this offensive line, and that's still always going to be really important, no matter what this next part I'm going to ask about it, and it's even important for them, but this running back room, they're a veteran running back room with studs, really potentially three studs in there. That's obviously going to take some of that heat off of Joe Milton, assuming the offensive line kind of hold up just their end of the bargain, not be exceptional. I know that there's maybe been some guys taking some time back. Do you still feel like that running back room is as good as, again, going back into that word, expectations, that is being expected of them?
I really do. I mean, I've been super high on it the whole offseason, and I can't remember if we were doing this recording or just talking off the record, and Eric Kane said something to me like, is this Tennessee wide receiver room the best on the team, and I think there's an argument for it. But I was like, I think the running back still, and
Mm.
to have three really proven guys, and the guy that's the least proven, Dylan Sampson, could potentially be the most explosive guy in that room. And on top of that, to have two freshmen that do not look like freshmen, and obviously Deshaun Bishop would have been nice too. He'll be out for a couple months, so Jalen Wright's a guy I've been super super high on for a long time. It's crazy to see his body and his game develop from when he came in. He was basically like small school North Carolina speed guy, just kill dudes with speed, not big at all, and he is extremely well built. And you think you saw it last year. By the end of the year, you felt like he was a really good runner between the tackles. I think he's going to be even better this year. And honestly, if the one thing is the fumble issues, which cost him some last year, especially early in the season when he missed camp. But if that's not an issue, I have a hard time thinking he's not going to be Tennessee's leading rusher, or at least leading carries guy, and Tennessee's not going to have a really good run game.
Is there another position group besides the O-line that kind of maybe not worries you, but is kind of a question mark there?
I think it's just the secondary. I mean, it's such a non-story story because there's nothing to talk about. It's mostly the same guys. I mean, Gabe Giuliani will probably play a little bit. We'll see how the veterans do, and some of those freshmen may get a chance. But it's just a lot of guys that have played a lot of football, not at a very high level. I mean, they haven't been horrible, but there really haven't been any real difference makers in that room. So Tennessee's kind of betting on. I think there's a chance that guys like Danico Slaughter, maybe Kamal Haddon, take a step forward. But it just kind of feels like it's big time wait and see with a group that's been a lot. I guess the analogy I've been using is between Tennessee's number 1 corner and number 6 corner last year was very little gap. It didn't matter if a Tennessee corner got hurt. Can somebody there separate themselves is really what Tennessee needs to find.
Yeah, just some talent in that room probably helps, I guess. It doesn't hurt. Just some added talent. And some freshmen maybe to push those veterans to – is Warren Burrell going to be a factor? That's a wild card for me. I just can't wrap my head around, like, it seems like it's going to be Kamal Haddon and Danico Slaughter, maybe Brandon Turnage or Gabe Giuliani but Warren Burrell is kind of that outsider looking in, but he probably has played the most football in that room.
I have a hard time thinking he's going to be one of the main guys, especially at corner. I mean, he's gotten a lot of work at start during camp, which, granted, Tamari McDonald's going to start there, but, to have another option there, he'd probably be positioning himself to be, the backup and at corner. Not that he would, because it's kind of like we just said, a third string. There's not a huge gap, but those 4 guys you named, I would think would all be ahead of him at corner. So that kind of seems his fastest path to the field, and I think he could play some, but I have a hard time thinking it's going to be back like 2020, 2021 when he was, playing a ton of snaps.
Yeah, and this another group that maybe has gotten a lot better, which is kind of shocking because you lose a pretty big playmaker, sideline to sideline playmaker in Jeremy Banks. But it looks like this linebacking group might be a little underrated right now, and maybe they picked up enough hype.
Yeah, maybe a strength.
That's what I was gonna say. Maybe they're not underrated now. There's been a lot of talk around them at this point.
There has been, and I've been, again, kind of like the running back position early in the offseason. I was like, there's a lot of potential there, and I think the linebacker position kind of epitomizes a lot of the questions about the defense as a whole. Is it's like Tennessee has talented young guys, underclassmen. Are those guys ready to play at a high SEC level? And Elijah Herring and Arian Carter are 2 dudes I'm super high on. I like the other freshmen too, T-Lander and Smith. I doubt either will have a huge role in defense this year, but I think they're good-looking players too. But to have those 2 guys behind 2 veterans, and obviously I thought Aaron Beasley was maybe Tennessee's most underrated player last year, obviously into the year with a great performance in the Orange Bowl. It's hard not to feel really good about that room. And then Arian Carter is just like the guy that he just wows you on the practice field. And, he wows you with his physical presence and his athleticism, but, we're watching drill, so it's hard to figure out and make a bunch of conclusions. But you hear guys like McCallum Castles talk to the media like, hey, what defenders are standing out? First guy out of his mouth, Arian Carter, and a lot of the coaches of him too. So he's a freak. I think he's going to be a stud in time. And, I honestly wouldn't be surprised if he's starting by the end of the season. I think he'll probably be playing in 2 deep to start the season.
Yeah, we've had a question on why we didn't see more of Aaron Beasley, and we saw a lot of them, but I feel like at times it was Juwan Mitchell and Jeremy Banks, and I just feel like with what you saw at the end of the year with Jeremy Banks, and even the first part of the year, he had a big game, I think, at Pittsburgh. So I mean, why didn't we see more of Aaron Beasley throughout the whole season?
I was surprised by that, and I don't know if it's something structurally like they talked. I know this was a theory out there after the South Carolina game about Banks and the way he called the defense and Beasley. That was a step down, but so I don't know. Maybe that was something, but it was something that surprised me too. And he still played. I think definitely Tennessee's second most reps at linebacker, but it was the gap between Mitchell was much smaller than the gap between him and Banks at the top.
Sure.
Which I wouldn't have thought should have been the case from watching those guys play.
Yeah. What do you have an opinion on Banks right now? Tim Banks, like as a defense coordinator, I think mine is still kind of out there. I think maybe this year I can form a stronger opinion because it seems that talent is going to be doable in SEC play. Because there's some games I'm very, very impressed with his play calling. Some hands are in the air. What are we doing? Kind of feel. Do you have that opinion of him yet?
I would kind of agree with that. That I feel like the jury's still out largely just because they haven't had the pieces. I think he's done a good job through 2 years, and I think overall has been solid. I think most of the issues defensively have been a lot more personnel based. And like last year, I think it's because the secondary was so bad, and there were some games where the defense was just so bad. But like the two big steps, maybe two of the biggest steps Tennessee as a full team took from 21-22 was their third down defense was light years better. And the run defense went from pretty mediocre to one of the best in the country. So I give them a lot of credit for that. The flip side of that is you lose another game where you shouldn't lose. Your defense doesn't get a single stop. Like that's the type of thing that gets you fired in the SEC. So I'm kind of straddling the fence there. I think he's been good, but certainly I don't think the defense has been so good that he can't. Another breakdown like that. Would have him on the hot seat, I guess.
Yeah,
I'd agree with that. Yeah.
Who are some players maybe that Tennessee fans know but haven't really been talking about? Who have you seen in fall camp that could maybe be some underrated players that take that next step?
I think Andre Turrentine is one that's really interesting. We talk about the secondary and, a lot of the same guys. He feels like the guy that we haven't seen a lot of, probably most positioned to play, especially, Wesley Walker's been a little banged up. If Jalen McCullough struggles early in the season like he did for a lot of last season, I just think he's the third guy at safety. He's going to get some opportunities to play, and especially the first two games. Like NFL preseason would be an over dramatic way of saying it, but that's kind of how I think it's going to feel for Tennessee. And I think a lot of the competitions we've had in fall camp are just going to continue through the first two games. And Josh Heupel and his staff are kind of like, all right, we need the answers by Florida. We don't have to have the answers by Virginia. So I think Turrentine's going to get opportunities early. On the offensive side, I think it's probably hard because most of the candidates are pretty obvious. I think Ollie Lane, the offensive line is not going to be a sexy pick, but he's very sneakily become a really important player for Tennessee in fall camp. With Cooper Mays going down, he was already the favorite to win the left guard job probably going into fall camp, but it wasn't a for sure thing. And now it's like, all right, he's definitely starting at left guard if Mays is healthy. And now he's going to have to play center and learn the tempo and everything that comes with that in Tennessee's offense. And then at receiver, I feel like Ramel Keaton's probably the forgotten man. But again, I don't think too many people don't expect, or too many fans aren't thinking about Ramel Keaton either.
Which is, to be fair, I could probably be put in that category, but as we've done this 2022 rewatch, I feel very dumb. That dude was important in so many crucial moments, several big games. It's crazy, but I think you're right. I think he is the forgotten guy and could be another huge year for him in Orange.
Just nothing that he really does is flashy. Like he doesn't have great speed. No. He doesn't have great size, but he just catches the football. And that's, I guess in this offense, that's really all you have to do.
Yeah. He's just solid everywhere. And, I think his hands have gotten a lot better. I remember I had a running joke with somebody when the JG here is just like, those two must hate each other. He'll be open on the pass and they could not complete the pass. So it's kind of been cool to see him put it all together. And yeah, he's just a really steady guy and he's not really going to be flashy or do anything that really wows you. Well, I say that catch at Florida was pretty wowing.
Yeah, pretty sick.
No, for sure.
I like how you went with the local guy, Ollie Lane. That's speaking to the audience. That's great. It's great stuff.
you gotta know your audience.
Yeah,
absolutely. We also, going back to the defensive side of the ball real quick, we've used the term, we've been saying this defense just has to get 1% better for this team. 1% better. Landon, I think, got to like 5% one day. Said this defense will be 5% better. Do you give me your percentage? Just hard take right now.
Yeah.
Or I mean, if
I'll
it gets
say-
worse, we can go negative percentage.
No, I don't think
That's
it's gonna
fine.
get worse. I don't think it's gonna get worse. I'm trying to think of what radical improvement would be percentage wise to compare it to. I'll say like 3-4%. Like
Okay.
again, the big question to me is how many of these young guys can step up who I
Mhm.
think are going to be really good in a few years. How many of those guys can be real solid for Tennessee this year? And with that expectation, it's kind of like, all right, they'll probably will be better, but it would probably be a little bit of a surprise if they're dramatically better. So,
Right.
I kind of said all offseason, it feels like they're 1 year away from really being, not best defense in the SEC, but a top third of the SEC defense from a talent standpoint. The statistics may never fall that just because of the challenges that it takes being a defense with an offense as good as Tennessee's and style of play they have.
Yeah, and is it how difficult is it going to be replacing Byron Young and just that rush off the edge, especially in the pass game that it struggled last year, even with a great pass rusher. What is that replacement going to be like, trying to find a guy to fill that void?
I've honestly thought it's not going to be as massive as a loss as maybe the statistics would say or people would say. And Byron Young was a good player. I would say that last year he dominated the Kentucky game, he dominated the LSU game. Games really were his athleticism. I think it was the backup left tackle for LSU, and obviously Kentucky's offensive line was atrocious last season.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't that he was a non-factor besides that, but he just wasn't, fantastic. Darrell Taylor is the guy I think I've written talking about Byron Young. I've called him Darrell Taylor like 3 times so far this summer. It's my common mistake, but to me, Darrell Taylor was a much more productive pass rusher than Byron Young was, and I think Roman Harrison is solid. I don't think he's going to be a guy that's going to sniff 7-8 sacks, but I think he's a guy that could, with steady improvement, be a 5-sack guy. And then that's, I talked about the linebackers having some young guys. That's probably when you consider the freshmen too, and Chandavian Bradley and Caleb Herring. Man, there's a ton of young talent at that spot, and Josh Joseph probably seems to the guy that's, if you could ask Tennessee who's your leading sack guy at the end of the year, I think the answer you'd want to say would be Josh Joseph, because he's the type of guy that has the talent to go out there and get close to double-digit sacks, and I'm not sure anybody else does. So kind of a long-winded answer, but I kind of think Tennessee is going to end up being fine there. Even with Byron Young, Tennessee could very rarely get home before last year. So I think that it might be moderate improvement. It might not be huge, but I don't think you're really going to see a big step back for the pass rush either.
Yeah, it seemed like they were just like a few tenths of a second away from getting to the quarterback just a ton more times. I mean, we watched the Georgia game today, and I mean, Juwan Mitchell, just barely misses Stetson Bennett, and he runs in on 3rd and 10 for a touchdown. So yeah, just like that, I feel like this younger talent that they're bringing in at some point, I feel like this staff has to be able to rely on some of these guys, whereas I feel like the last couple of years they've always gone with the veterans, but these are guys that they've recruited. They're developing. At some point, do they get to the point where just like, we're going to be more athletic in some positions?
I think so. And again, I think defensive line and
safety
linebacker are the answers that's most likely, because it's just the Willie Martinez thing. Like, he's leaned on veterans basically his whole career. And I mean, it's crazy. You go look through the Tennessee roster, go look at the secondary. It's like everybody's a senior.
Mm-hmm.
There might be a super senior, a redshirt senior, or a straight up senior. They're all seniors. It's unbelievable how many veterans they have, and there's just a lot of options. And safety is the one that it really feels like they need to make that jump at, or that change at.
Willie Martinez started COVID so he could start seniors one more year. That's what happened. That's what we're rolling with.
Yeah. I think that's pretty good.
What about special teams? How's it looking? I know Paxton Brooks, I know, especially in the punt game and even in kickoff game, was just kind of weird last year. And I know seems like Josh Heupel likes to do some weird stuff with kickoffs. He doesn't want to just see it go to the end zone for whatever reason, but still a veteran guy, dude who's been around. And then Chase McGrath, not perfect, but he also had the perfect kick. What's that special teams like, having the complete 180 flip? They're having to figure it out now.
That's a hard one, because I haven't watched a single kick or punt all fall camp since this is the Orange Bowl.
Man, if I was a coach, that's all I'd show you all. Like, hey, come out for our special teams today. It'll look good.
And personally, I'd love it being able to just have something you can track. Like, all right, kicks were good from this yardage, and here's who was returning punts today, who was fielding punts. Which obviously don't have that question this offseason. And I guess I'll start there. I mean, I think D. Williams he's not going to factor at corner, which probably makes he's probably the guy I should have said forgotten man, because he was so good returning punts last year. And I think, again, is for, last year it was like, it didn't matter if the punt return wasn't good. Tennessee's offense was unreal.
Right.
And they could go 10 plays, 75 yards down the field, or, one play, 75 yards down the field. It seemed like at any moment. But this year, when there's more questions, and I think Tennessee's offense will be good again, but probably not at the level they were last year. I think that could be a big deal for field position. And yeah, I mean, there's a lot of positive buzz about Jackson Ross, and the fact that they got him in for like last season. I think maybe even in the middle of the year, right before it started. Obviously, he was never going to play, but he's kind of been through it and seen it. I think will be helpful. And then Campbell from Indiana. I mean, he has a big leg. He's made a lot of long kicks in his career. So we'll see what it's like with the consistency. But I mean, again, that's a guy I think you've got to feel pretty solid about just from looking at his track record kicking in, semi big time college football.
I think he had a game winner in Indiana, a pretty long one.
I think so
last
too.
year.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I like that. I like that
yardage
news
of it. Yeah, I mean that's Chase McGrath had a game winner at USC. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Good. What's the Australian kid? Have you gotten to see him kick any? Is he as advertised?
No, I mean I haven't gotten to see him at all. But I mean,
that's crazy.
Mike Eckler was talking about him, and I think Mike Eckler was almost playing with us the type of things he was saying to kind of build him up and talking about what a good athlete he is and good quarterback. But no, I mean I can't think of the term, but he apparently can kick with both legs. I don't think we're going to see that in games, but he seems like a pretty crazy athlete. Again, probably take a little bit of what Mike Eckler says with a grain of salt, but he seems like an interesting personality on the team for sure.
I would like to see the advantage, like the chart of like what advantage would it be to kick with both legs? How could you get one up on the other team?
I'm thinking of the only way that works is maybe a onside kick. Maybe you just run straight up to it.
Yeah.
Don't know which way it's going.
I'm still not convinced that would be as beneficial.
It probably wouldn't, especially now where you can you have to have the same amount of people on each side. So
yeah,
that's the story I have with that. And every time that's come up with Jackson Ross, I think about my brother played football at Furman. They had a game in 2017, Western Carolina, pouring rain, and the punter was right-footed, dropped the punt, eluded a guy, and then kicked it 30 yards with his left foot. It was one of the more impressive plays I saw in my brother's college career.
Kickers are athletes too.
Shout out to the Furman kicker in 2017. I'm sorry I don't know your name.
We'll get our research team on that and see what we can. We'll do a where is he at now and see if he used his left foot since then.
Yeah.
Maybe the fact that he's an athlete. I know there's been a ton of Australian kickers and punters lately. But the one that comes to mind, and I wish I could remember his name, the kid from LSU that had that massive fake punt. That's exactly what I was thinking when you that's all I've thought I want to see now from our Australian.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Reels
yeah.
Okay.
Instagram Reels has done a great job of assaulting me with that 50-yard touchdown run he had against Florida that year. I mean, with Vern on the call is electric. I've watched that play probably no less than 8 times on Instagram this offseason.
The greatest non-touchdown maybe of all time, especially for a punter of all time.
Oh, definitely. It's criminal officiating.
What's so we've heard a lot about Jalen Wright and how I guess Josh Heupel and Jerry Mack was talking about how much of a pro he's become. What have you seen that's just different in his demeanor? Have you seen anything that just kind of sticks out to you?
Not really. I don't know. He did talk earlier this week, actually. And, he kind of seemed like the same guy talking to the media. I think, the thing that stands out for me, and obviously I don't want to, this could kind of sound pointed, but he's just out on the practice field every day. I mean, last camp, and it's not to say that his injury wasn't serious or that Tennessee's coaches weren't guiding him that way. But, he wasn't out there a ton. And when he wasn't full contact. And he's been out there every day, full go. And, I think kind of near leading the lines, the thing they talked about is the pass blocking and the pass catching. And I could say from drills, he's much better catching the football than he was a year ago. And pass blocking, I do think it's an important thing. And it's kind of goes into the greater conversation with Tennessee's running backs. And I hopefully won't go on too big of a tangent here, but Jabari Small's been the starter. I think he's the least talented of the three guys. Doesn't mean he shouldn't have a role. Doesn't mean he shouldn't get carries. He's still a good player. And I think the easy thing to say is like, all right, well, just use them in short yard situations and goal line situations. Well, Tennessee doesn't sub like that offensively. And it's kind of the same thing. They're not going to sub somebody in on third down to pass block if Jalen Wright can't pass block. So that's going to be something that factors in to the rotation, and probably especially this year when Tennessee has some questions at offensive tackle. So I think that's something that is going to be probably a very minuscule but interesting storyline to follow with the running backs once they get into the season.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, and it's a good point about Jabari Small. He was your quote-unquote go-to guy. He always got the carries down 2-yard line when it was real tight, but it's not like they were subbing him in. They weren't rotating him in. It's just kind of by chance that he was in the game. He was getting the – that's an interesting point because I've thought about that. I've had that same thought.
Yeah, fantasy player right there. I love that. That's a good pickup.
Oh, he's got to be the smallest incredible fantasy player in that way ever. I mean, usually you're thinking like Jerome Bettis, Lindell White, like the massive guys you put in the goal line, and now the small running back that's just low center of gravity and super strong.
Who at tight end do you think? I mean, obviously it's Jacob Warren that kind of takes over that Princeton Fant role, but it's also kind of got to be by committee. I feel like McCallan Castles, Ethan Davis, those guys do you think they're more than capable of, making an impact this season?
I think so. To me, the big question is, the big question is the blocking. And especially with Ethan Davis, like these really good tight end recruits. I mean, they don't ever block. They play receiver in high school. So it's a big adjustment. And I think right now is the most pass catching wise, the most gifted tight end Tennessee has. From the moment he stepped on campus, he's one of the guys I've been most impressed with watching him in spring practice and into the fall. It does feel like he's a little bit behind McCastles or McCallan Castles. Love to call him McCastles. It feels like he's a little behind him from just what we've seen and what we've heard out of the scrimmages and stuff. But I think all three of those guys are going to play, and obviously that was potentially distressing position Tennessee could have been in if Jacob Warren just moved on. I mean, their depth there has been – they've had two guys, and fortunately those two guys have stayed healthy, but they've had no one really behind them. So I think there's certainly just the steadiness of Jacob Warren is really important. That's why I'll be the starter as well, play the most snaps, but I think it'll be interesting to see really what both the newcomers can do catching the football, but especially Ethan Davis.
What away game are you looking forward to this year?
Ooh, that's a good question. I mean, it's Florida or Alabama. Those are by far the two best away games. I'm not even going to Missouri. I've done a good job of going to I'm going to basketball in Wisconsin on Friday night. Would much rather do that than the frozen. I'm joking about how cold Missouri is. I'm going to Wisconsin, and maybe that's bad logic. You could argue. I'm not sure I could argue back with you, but and in Kentucky will probably be the same thing in whatever early November. It's just brutally cold. So. Florida or Alabama. Alabama, I think, would be the best environment, but certainly if Tennessee can get it done in Florida for first time in 20 years, that'd be a pretty cool one to be at. The only other game I've been to there was 21. I covered at the Beacon, or not 21, 19. 21 would have been better. It wasn't a good game, but 19 was just.
That was Kyle Trask and Kyle Pitts, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yes, I think 31-3 or something like that. Just not many good plays for Tennessee in that game.
We were watching it. It was the fourth quarter, and I think we got an interception. And one of our buddies was like, "We still got a chance."
Trayvon Flowers, I think, is the one who had it in the end zone. Yeah.
That's just belief. That's all it is. But I do think you made the right decision. I think anyone would rather be in Madison, Wisconsin, even no matter the weather, than Columbia, Missouri. So regardless of weather, I think you made the right decision.
You're not getting any of that NIL money that they got in Missouri now?
No, well, I actually was in Missouri. We went to the Ozark Mountains, my family, to vacation this summer. I should have looked into it while I was there. That could have, that NIL money's good, man.
Yeah, they got that Ozark money.
Yeah,
Ozark money. Yeah,
I was gonna use the logic of the dome versus the outdoor field they got. I won't even call it a stadium if they're working with, but
they have rocks.
But you're the man in charge. You're in the press box, so you don't have to worry about that. So. I don't know. I don't know if weather should have factored into your decision, but I still think you made the right decision.
I went there also in 19, and I was so jarred by the cold And the press box might even be, less nice than Vanderbilt. I mean, usually you're talking about these things. What's the worst in the league? It's just like you're thinking about it. It's like, well, besides Vanderbilt, Missouri press box might be even worse.
Pretty tough. All right.
Yeah, Vanderbilt might put you in a chairlift or something this year. I mean, good Lord.
I'm glad you mentioned press box. We've seen some complaints from some capital J journalists. I think Diet Coke's a real popular one. Got to be in press box. What's your go? Like, press box doesn't have it. They're on your shit list immediately. Like, which one is it for you?
I can go Coke or Dr. Pepper. I mean, Dr. Pepper is my go-to. I don't think anyone's on the shit list for not having it. But just one of those two, ideally. Vanderbilt, actually, I will complain. They didn't have any soft drinks. They did have a barista, which was really nice for coffee people. I'm not a coffee person, so that's just tough.
That's very Vanderbilt of them. I actually love that you told me
that. The only time I've really gotten mad, I had a buddy who worked in like stadium operations in Nissan Stadium. And so for the bowl game there in 2021, the Coke machine ran out in there, and I've to this day probably bring it up once a month, blame it on him. What poor management he had. Stadium operations couldn't get the Coke machine working in the press box.
Are you an ice cream guy? Are you rating that cabinet at Neyland?
Really not really.
No.
Probably a couple times a year I'll get one at halftime, but I'm not an every game tried or true.
Okay.
Gotcha.
I go with the popcorn and the Dr. Pepper is typically my go-to at halftime.
I got some we're doing a new thing where we have some questions that get submitted to ask you. So if you don't mind, I have a few. This is anonymously, don't know who it was. But they're like, why did your first trip to Omaha in 2021 change your life forever?
I wonder who that could be. I feel like the Stephen A. Smith video where he's yelling about that's Shaq. That's been the key. That's been the key. Maybe a little bit too much to drink the night Tennessee lost to Virginia, as the Hawks won a big Game 7 against the Sixers. But we're not, pleading my Fifth Amendment rights on this one, not going too far into detail.
I like that. We also have one more from a different person. He said, how thankful is he to have me and Mike Wilson as mentors? This is anonymous.
It's a good question.
Man, it's bad that Ben submitted this because I want to rip Mike, but it feels maybe not nice to rip Mike, but I'm going to do it anyway. He was on the trip with the basketball team to Italy, which talk about just great work by him getting on that trip. And then
how do you do that? What kind of strings do you have to pull?
Knox New Sentinel, baby. They were coming big time for him.
Oh, no,
and then he's been sick since. So I haven't seen him at any football stuff, and it's been just a joy in my life not having to deal with him for a couple of weeks before the onslaught begins. Because that's been Mike and I are. There's a couple more too, Wes Rucker, but a handful to cover all three sports. So there's really no escaping them for 9 months. So, but they're both good guys. I won't rip on them too much.
So do you all have a sign? Is it every game in the season in Neyland? Is it the same assigned seat, or they mix it up on you?
It's pretty similar. It'll change a little bit, like if national media members are there, so you have, or how much away media they bring. But typically for RTI, we have the same 2 seats at the same spot.
So if you ever see like Ben or Mike next to you, do you like try to get there early and move them?
That happens in baseball a lot. And then the tiny Lindsey Nelson Stadium press box, like getting into the press seats, not great. So Ben has he holds court at the best spot at the very end, closest to the stairwell. Get out easy. But yeah, baseball, people get there, switch around the seats a little bit because it can make a difference at Lindsey Nelson.
You should try to get there early and put like Mike in the very back or something. Maybe like put him maybe for the Vanderbilt game, put him between. I won't name Vanderbilt names, but maybe like try to put him between who. Like just see what you can do do. That would be I won't call it a prank. That might be a little far for a prank, but it'd be good.
Now that's a good one. The Deion Sanders clip. That is good one.
What about if you sat next to me down there for one game and just been like, hey guys, look down here and look where I'm covering the game from? What do you think they'd say about
that? Man, I moved down to some good seats before. I don't think I've ever moved. You got maybe 5 people in that stadium have better seats than you do.
Yeah,
you got it figured out. So maybe that'll be the difference. I've moved down to some pretty good seats before during midweek games when it's empty, but not that big time.
All right. Well, next season, one game you're coming down there.
Okay, let's make it happen. You gotta give me some nachos. I mean, that's
yeah, for sure. Yeah, I wouldn't let you sit down there if you weren't eating nachos. You got to eat those.
Last question for me: how's the golf game looking?
Oh, the golf game has been a roller coaster. I mean, I feel like I typically, it's a slow climb in the summer, and I hit some week and a half, maybe 10 days in July when I play great, and I just like play as much golf as I can before I lose it, and then a slow decline. But no, I've been a roller coaster this summer. I played twice this past week. I played really good at Avalon earlier in the week, and then I was horrible at Island Point. It looked like I hadn't played golf before. So, I like to get out there and hack it around, but it's not in the best shape.
You better than Ben?
Oh yeah, I'm definitely better than
Ben.
I actually had my best round of the summer with Ben a couple weeks ago at good old Knoxville Municipal. So maybe he brought the good mojo.
I like that Landon's doing this, kind of pitting you all against each other, because follow up to my last question, last question. And it looks like we're playing at Island Point now. 2v2 versus you and Ben coming up. Okay.
Yeah, we got to get that going. I will say me and Ben's games are pretty complimentary. Neither of us are great, but he's a good putter, which I can struggle with. And he's, he's got the distance off the tee that I don't have. I'm not great with the driver. I'm pretty good knocking it out there with the 3-wood, but it can make us a little more dangerous having his length involved.
Yeah, well, Caleb's definitely carrying us because
Landon, you're not. You're good.
No. I mean, I started like 2 months ago.
Yeah, he's fine.
We're good. Well,
that goes that way. But if some weird things happen to you that get blamed on Ben, or Ben that get blamed on you this season, it's not me preparing for mental games for. I know some people inside the program. I don't know if they work in the media box, but I'll see what I can get done this season to get mental games going early.
Well, you need to schedule it for like a late baseball season, because then we've been spending like 4 to 5 days a week together for 4 to 5 hours for like 3 months. That's when the pranks are going and things are starting to deteriorate a little bit.
I like that. That's perfect. You just set yourself up. You gave us the perfect opportunity.
Yeah. Well, maybe it wasn't my best move there.
Well, Ryan, we appreciate you. You got to get off here. You got a Madden draft. Is that right?
Ben's in the league. It's all Ben's friends. Ben's the only person I know. So
okay, cool.
And ironically, I got the Pittsburgh Steelers as my team. So
nice.
That's
you should make them terrible just to get on
despite
Ben's nerves. Yeah.
I got to draft Kenny Pickett and then purposely be bad with Kenny Pickett. That's been a great point of conversation.
He's never going to be good because he's bad in Madden.
Yeah, I mean, he's terrible. All these interceptions, no touchdowns. I mean, terrible in Madden.
Yeah. All right, we appreciate you, man. Good luck, and hopefully we see you some this season. And, I mean, you're going to do it all, so we'll see you, I guess, every season. But we'll have you back on soon to maybe talk about the end of the season.
Yeah, sounds great. Appreciate you guys having me on.
Right. Yeah.
See you, brother.
See you, boys.
That was Ryan Schumpert with Rocky Top Insider. Really appreciate Ryan coming on. Awesome stuff. Does a great job. Go check him out. Covers football, basketball, and baseball. So does a really good job of doing all three. And probably doing everything. He probably does softball, swimming, diving, golf, everything else. So go check him out. Appreciate him hopping on and giving us some insight on fall camp and this upcoming football season.
Wow, man, and you just totally told on yourself. You didn't read Ryan's 4-page expose on the Tennessee underwater basket weaving team?
Yeah. I mean, I've yet to get to that. That was next on my list.
Come on, man. It's a great read. Everybody should go check it out. Joe's calling me right now. What's going on?
I don't know.
Let's call him back. I didn't mean to do that. Yeah, I don't know what's going on.
Call has been forwarded.
I just got forwarded an automatic voicemail. What is going on? This is freaking me out, man. We'll see if he calls back. But yeah, we appreciate Ron hopping on. We did have some questions in the chat. I lost them because when you close out, one question was about there's apparently rumors going around that Nico's going to be playing more this year. Rumors confirmed. Those rumors are confirmed as rumors. I can confirm those. We talked about it. It's not, in my opinion, and I'm not saying Nico's not going to be good at some point. And I'm not saying Nico's not good right now, like a good enough start in the SEC. I'm not saying that either. But for where Tennessee's at with their quarterback situation, either way, if Nico's playing, I think Tennessee's in a bad position in the sense of it means Joe Milton's either not playing well and they have to go to a freshman, true freshman, or two, Joe Milton's gotten hurt, and that's not good either. So for the sake of Tennessee fans, you should only want to see him in garbage time. And based on the current spread, it's probably going to be garbage time. You might get to see him in Nashville.
Yeah, no, I think he understands that, which is good. I mean, I don't think he was coming here thinking he was going to play right off the rip. And I think it's going to be good for his development. And, I mean, if you look at the last – I know the transfer portal is a big thing right now, but if you look at the last couple draft picks for Tennessee, like they just like find their own in one season or a couple seasons and then, find their names getting called on, around in the draft. Velus Jones didn't have a huge impact till he got to Tennessee. Jalen Hyatt was kind of forgotten about until he bought in, and then he wins the Blitnikoff. Cedric Tillman had 8 catches before he has over 1,000 yards of the first year under Josh Heupel, and turns into a third-round pick. So Ramel Keaton, kind of the same way, probably a guy that we just thought would probably never see the field, enter the transfer portal, but has really found a home at wide receiver. Aaron Beasley is another guy who didn't even really have a position until Josh Heupel and them got here, and found a home at linebacker, and now he's probably one of the better defensive players on this roster. So I think people are okay with waiting their turn, or at least they seem to be. And I think the kind of proof is in the pudding with this current staff.
Yeah, and it worked out too that he's not coming in behind a sophomore or a junior.
Correct.
He does. I might be more nervous if Joe Milton had a great year, or Joe Milton started the whole year, about Nico transferring. But like you said, seems to understand his spot, and Joe doesn't have the option to stay another year, even if he pulls a Peyton Manning and I'm gonna return for my senior season.
What if he does? He's like, I'm coming back. Like, Joe, you can't play. He's like, I don't care. I'm coming back.
Joe, he's getting his PhD. We were talking about that today. Let's tangent for a minute. What in the world was Hendon Hooker? Like, what classes was he taking? He'd have to be working towards like a doctorate at this point, right? Like, what program is he in?
He's got 8 degrees. Like, he had 8 different majors.
And I don't know if this is true. I saw some funny like rumors, conspiracies floating out there that Stetson Bennett may not have a single degree.
Yeah, I saw that too. That is, I think we should be able to take those titles away. I don't think he was a full-time student.
At some point, right? I mean, and the funny thing is like, how long is he at JUCO? Just 1 year?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. It would have been awesome if he was at JUCO for 2 years and also didn't have an associate's degree. Like he doesn't have a degree from any institution he attended for extended periods of time.
Yeah. It's like, I don't know.
He's degreeless, dude. He didn't go to school. He didn't go to school. He didn't go to school to play class.
Yeah, no.
I respect it, dude. That's called a hustle right there. Because he doesn't need a degree. Like, I know, talk about setting these guys up for future. The dude is going to be, let's say the NFL doesn't work out, and it's looking like it. I'll say this, 50-50, he could be a backup. He might have bought himself a backup for at least a few years.
I did see today he threw that terrible pass.
Yeah, it was bad.
And somebody was like, Stetson Bennett's actually going to be a mailman by week 6.
No, that man is going to be selling life insurance in Athens, Georgia, and he's probably not going to have to make a phone call. And he's going to make a lot of money. So he doesn't
it's basically like an NIL deal.
Yeah, he just played the world's greatest hustle. That's all he did.
Good for him.
Yeah, no, for real. Happy for him. Stay away from Dallas, though, my friend. It's not your friend.
Yeah, that's called a right place, right time.
Definitely. Wait, right place, right time? In Dallas?
No, not in Dallas.
Okay,
I'm saying like him just being a part of the Georgia program when they had all those 4 and 5 stars around him. All he had to do was just not mess it up and
not graduate.
Yeah, that too.
What should have been like? He should have graduated in what, like 2019?
Yeah. I wonder if like his degree is just like his You know how they list their major?
I'm curious if he's ever been enrolled at this point.
Yeah. His major is just like all the above studies.
Yeah. Tennessee should make a football department where guys can just major in football.
His
Peyton
degree
Manning's already
just,
teaching at the school. Just make Peyton the head of the department.
yeah, run a fake school.
No, it's a real school. I know, no, it's a real school. I know
Okay.
Tar Heel's deep buried inside of you, but we're not running fake stuff here. Golly, dude, you're trying to get the NCAA bearing down on us.
Hey, they're already there. Maybe Peyton is the one just like shooing them off.
I like that. I like that a lot. I don't think we need anyone now. I think they're done. Dunzo. I'm calling it. Clip this. NCAA dead.
Okay, I like that.
Dead.
It should be.
Do we have any more questions? We got some comments about Keenan Pili being that dude. Said he does well. Zachary Bunch said he'll do well this year. And I sure hope so. And this linebacking group as a whole looks a lot better. More as a group, they look more improved. I should say that.
Speaking of old.
Yeah, that's another guy.
Hopefully he's got a degree.
Which I like it. I mean, the transfer portal is essentially a draft now.
Mm-hmm.
But instead of the worst teams going first, the best teams get to go first.
So I don't know if you know this, but what is the deal with? I know BYU. Do all their players have to do a mission of some sort?
I don't think all of their players do. It's the Mormon the ones that are Mormon, that are actually Mormon.
Gotcha.
Because you don't necessarily have to be Mormon to go there.
Right.
You do have to obviously somewhat abide by their rules because they have kicked dudes off for not doing it.
Yeah. How did Zach Wilson make it there? I don't understand.
He just did a little soaking, dude. Never broke the rules.
Yeah.
But yeah, you don't. So I don't know what the percentage is that do a mission before they play, but obviously they do have Mormon players who do missions before they play. Gotcha. Did Zach Wilson do one? He's not very old.
No, I don't think that's what I was asking. I didn't know.
Is he Mormon? What? He's from Utah, right?
I don't know.
Okay. I don't know anything. If he did a mission, it was to.
He did have a girlfriend and get with his mom's friend. I don't know if that counts, but
yeah, missionary was involved for sure.
All right. Do you have any more questions? Was there any more? Just that?
No more questions. But if you want a tangent about Mormons for a minute, I don't know if this is true. I was watching a video the other day. This comes unchecked from TikTok that apparently there's a way, like Mormons, you can be like retroactively saved, like after you die, but only if they're in your family tree. So apparently the Mormon church has like one of the like largest libraries of family trees. So like apparently I could go back and in this library and figure out my genealogy.
Ancestry.com, but
but for everyone, but specifically for Mormons. Okay. And apparently they can like go back and you can just say like, oh, they're my family member. They now have like heard the teachings of Joseph Smith. Is that his name? He is saved. She is saved. I don't know the details of it, but I was reading or watching this video about it. And I don't know if it's true at all. It's fascinating, but I don't know if it's true.
Okay.
I like the leaps.
I don't even know where to like lead. Like my mind's going in so many directions.
Ask a question. Get the conversation going. I'll see if I can answer it. I like the leaps that any religion will go through to do stuff like that.
I'm just thinking like, I mean, if you're going one path or the other, right, after death, essentially, are you just waiting in like no man's land until somebody saves you, or like when's that cut off? I guess
that'd be a pretty good. I don't know. I think Mormon's pretty similar to Christianity, and like, or I mean, it is essentially like it has its spinoff of it, I guess, if that's what we're calling it. It's its own. You know, they started a spinoff series. So I don't know if they have hell. I would assume they have hell. It'd be pretty awesome to like go from hell to heaven. That would be pretty cool.
Yeah. What is?
I mean, I'm sure it's cool not to experience it, but
come back
if you had to choose, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know how that works, though. I'm not aware of any of it.
That's like maybe having Tommy John and then coming back and throwing 105.5.
For sure. Or like going from playing playing for like you're maybe on like the Cleveland Browns, and then during free agency, Bill Belichick calls you, and you get to go play with the Tom Brady Patriots.
Okay. Yeah. Or you're in junior college and you end up being the starting quarterback at Georgia with all these 4 and 5 stars, and
With no degrees.
and you don't even have to like do any school or anything.
Yeah, I think that's probably the closest thing to it. Yep.
Okay.
I was gonna go somewhere else with that too, but I probably should stop before I get myself in trouble. Yeah, that's my interesting thing I learned this week though.
Okay.
So,
Cool.
you got any fun facts for me?
Not like that. No. I did not read up on
I think
Mormonism.
the story came because I think Anne Frank is officially a Mormon because one of her ancestors has saved her or something. So
What if she didn't want to be? Like, did she
that's
turn that
a
down?
good point, Landon. I mean, you're asking the valuable questions right now.
Oh man, this is creepy. I don't like it.
I'll learn more, and we'll do our expose on this eventually. So
Yeah, let's do it.
I won't learn any more about this, but
Yeah.
we'll say I did. It's not that interesting to me.
I was gonna get. So is that your most important?
No, yeah, sure. I was talking about how like any kind of religion will like do like spin stuff their way. One of my favorite videos, I can't remember his name. It's not Joel Osteen. It's another one of those evangelical pastors, and he has like 3 jets, which is insane.
Yeah, he's like the what are they? The Righteous Gemstones.
Yeah. Like it's essentially making like the Righteous Gemstones making fun of these guys, and they're interviewing him on like the tarmac. Like dude just got off his plane or is about to get on his plane, and they're like, "Why do you need 3 jets or something? You know, why do you need another $50 million jet?" And he's like, "Well, I figured that if I have to fly commercial, like I wouldn't be able to reach as many people and save as many people. With my $50 million jet, I can save a lot more people." And I'm like, that's a good spin zone if we're just being honest. Like, where do I tie to this guy? I want to buy him another jet. Think about how many more people he could save, Landon.
Right. Yeah.
3 jets, not doing it. 4, maybe.
He thought about it before he bought them.
Yeah.
He knew his law was going to be.
Yeah. I also found, I'm just going to keep going with all these hilarious religious videos I found. Another pastor was preaching in his church.
You were in there deep, weren't you?
Yeah, for sure. And he was like, "You know who owns the largest house in Louisiana? Me." And like just going on, everyone's cheering. And he's like, it's a 40,000 square foot house. He's like, "You know the movie Gone with the Wind?" He's like, "My front living area, just like it. The chandelier from Gone with the Wind." And they're going nuts. And I'm like, I want to know, like, I wish the video had kept going because I want to know where he was going with this.
Going nuts is in like screaming like amen and stuff.
Yeah, just cheering. They're like, "Yeah, 40,000 square feet. Yeah."
I didn't know if this was like in the middle of the service.
It was in the middle of the service.
Oh,
that's what. Like, where is he? What direction is this leading to? Like, where are we
brag.
gonna get with this? It ends with Jesus coming in and flipping everything in his house over because that's kind of something in the Bible. But we won't get into that. But I would like, to be fair, I want to hear this guy out. I want to hear the end of his sermon. Maybe he ties it back in to saving a lot of people with his 3rd jet. And I'm kind of on his side at that point.
In the chandelier.
And the chandelier is saving the guys that hung the chandelier would not have heard the gospel of Jesus Christ had they not hung it in that guy's house.
Yeah.
Amen, brother.
God.
Some people will say I'm sacrilegious. I'm going to go with the guy ranting and raving about the 40,000 square foot house in a service that he's the pastor of the church is much more sacrilegious than anything I just said.
Yeah, I'm doing better than him.
Yeah. So I'm good. All right.
Yeah. All right. Well, most important,
that's where did Caleb's TikTok take him this week? That's what that was.
That was the service on the mound.
Name of my fantasy football team, Sermon at the Red Rocks. Shout out Antonio Brown, CTE, man, doing its best work. Give me fantasy football team names.
Killing it. My most important is my first one is Bryson Stott's bat for the Philadelphia Phillies. You see that?
No.
It was a number 2 pencil. I'll show you a picture real quick. I don't know if you can't see that.
Yeah, just show it to me. I had it. Put it close to the screen. Nice. That's cool.
That is cool.
That looks like a Doodle Bob.
Yeah, me hoy.
Nobody will get that unless you're our age. Well, there's a gap. There's a generation that'll get that, and that's it. My most important, Thomas Edwards release party. Be there, be square.
It's gonna be fun.
It's gonna be fun. More important issues in the house. We bought a lot of tickets, or claimed a lot of tickets. We'll be there. Freaking orange on, baby.
Are you gonna be there?
I'll get there.
Okay.
So also think about this. It's starting 8 p.m. our time.
Oh, okay. So
we got time. Are you taking the day off? Half a day off?
I'm off, but
okay.
I'm probably leaving like around noon.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Next most important is Teddy Bridgewater wearing the number 50 for the Lions.
How did that happen?
I don't know. I don't know why. I meant to look up why he did that, but I'm all for quarterbacks wearing like.
Can he legally? That's what I'm confused about.
I think obviously you probably can't in like a regular game, but he did in the preseason.
Good for him.
So I'm all for like quarterbacks wearing like offensive lineman numbers.
Dude, yeah, get weird with it for sure.
Yeah, I think if you're wearing 50, maybe that's like a red jersey. It's like, hey, probably don't tackle that guy.
If you see a 50 in the backfield, not free game.
Yeah,
maybe they'd have. I would like it if he could wear it, but every time the white hat has to turn and say like the number 50 is eligible on this play.
Every time.
Every time.
That would be funny.
My last one. It's Nashville SC. It's the city of Nashville. It's soccer, baby. Dude, what an environment last night. I know Nashville came up short. It was an excellent penalty shootout. You never want to see it get to the goalkeepers necessarily, but Miami's absolutely buried it. Hate it for Nashville's. I don't know how to say his name. That guy. He's played exceptional in the League Cup, and that sucks that it came down to that. But great environment. Geodis rocks. That park rocks. I know how to spell it, Dylan. I don't know how to say it. God, this guy
just gets on just to roast you.
Yeah. But anyways, great environment. Panico. There you go. That's all I needed. Panico, according to Dylan. I would have said Panico. That looks more right. It's the hat maybe that throws me off. But yeah, great environment. Geodis, one of the, I think the largest soccer specific stadium in the country right now. So great environment to get that in. Landon's disappointed to find out he has a bet right now out on Messi to be the leading goal scorer at the end of the season. And he has played in 10 games played in 7 games and scored 10 goals. None of those count towards the MLS because they're in the League Cup, but he has scored 10 goals in 7 games. So.
Dylan told me to do this bet.
I still think it's a good bet, to be fair.
Well, dude, every time he scored, I'm like, hell yeah, we're getting closer, baby. And it doesn't even count. You know what I mean?
But think about it. Neither did any of Hawni's goals. So the leading goal scorer is not like building ground on him or anything.
Yeah, dude, soccer is so weird. I just don't understand. Like, you just have a random tournament that doesn't count for anything in the middle of the season? Is this like their All-Star break?
It does count for something. It's a cup. It's so like in Europe, the EPL plays. So if think about if Mexico and Canada had their own baseball league, and you didn't call the end of the season the World Series, but you wanted all of the leagues to play against each other to compete for the best in the world kind of deal, or the best in the continent kind of deal, they would play games throughout the middle of the season series against these teams to find out who you essentially compete against, those non-league teams. Or better comparisons, probably college baseball or college basketball. They play meaningless tournaments before they play the big tournament that against the rest of the country.
Yeah, I don't understand.
I mean,
I don't understand why.
SEC tournament mean anything?
I guess that's a fair point.
But a trophy. All you get's a trophy. That's all it means.
Yeah.
Which I like the trophy. I'm not bashing it, but
you get an auto bid, but most of those teams that win it are already in. But yeah,
right. So think about it like that. So it's that.
I mean, this whole time I was like, dude, that bet's gonna hit.
You got it. I still believe in you.
I have one fail, and man, dude, screw the Mets. Number one, the Mets just suck. Which I do like Drew Gilbert and I like Blade Tidwell, but Pete Alonso, number one, you're a Florida Gator. You're a piece of crap. Mason Wynn for the Cardinals made his major league debut. Gets a hit, an infield single, beats it out. Pete Alonso, gets the ball at first base, but it's late. First career hit in the MLB. And what does Pete Alonso do? Chucks the ball into the stands. What a freaking jackass.
Did he know, which might be worse, did he know it was his first career hit and he's like being a dick, or like what's the deal?
I think so.
Okay.
I don't think he realized in the moment what it was.
Okay.
But I mean, have a clue, man. Have some.
Right. Still kind of a fail to baseball's a slow enough game. You should be able to understand who's bad.
Yeah, everybody was standing up, giving a standing ovation. He just oh yeah, toss.
They really like this guy, huh?
Also, it was a normal play. I'm not sure why he just thought he would just toss it in the stands.
Yeah, that's kind of, I didn't understand that exactly either.
Yeah.
Would the ball not technically still be in play at that point?
Yeah, maybe he got an inside the park home run. Should have.
Did he? What did he hit? He hit a single?
Yeah.
Shouldn't he get a double then at that point by rule?
I think they already called time.
Oh, they already called time. Okay.
Yeah.
Which probably should have been another clue. Maybe this play is bigger than a normal play.
Yeah, and he was just chucks it halfway up.
It would have been great if he was able to throw it it was in San Francisco and he had thrown it into the bay or something.
Oh yeah, it would have been funny if he tried to throw it and it hit the net and just bounced right back to Mason Wynn. I guess that would have been. He'd have been yeah, oh yeah, I did on purpose, but
right.
Yeah, Florida Gator, just have a clue.
Polar bear, all right, fat. All right, my fail. I got to go back at Nashville fans for a second here. They're similar to Tennessee fans. There's a lot of crossover, I'm sure. There was a media member who had been kind of bashing the city of Nashville and its fans the whole week, and so I get it. Go after them. She wasn't covering the game, and she took a picture with Messi after the game, and all these people are calling out her journalistic integrity. They're like, "How dare you? Put her. You can't. You're showing your bias. All this stuff. Number one, Messi's the GOAT. Number two, I feel like it's very common. In the NCAA tournament at the end of the season, I'm blanking on his name now, gave his tie out to a guy every year. No one bats an eye. I don't know. I don't think taking a picture with someone like Messi is bad as a journalist, even if you're covering the game. You go interview him after, you're not going to take a picture with him? Get out of town.
Also, would you take a picture with Tim Tebow?
Me? Absolutely not.
Okay. Never mind.
I think Tim Tebow's a fraud.
Okay. Maybe bad example.
Peyton Manning covering a game, 100%.
Well, what about
Tom Brady? Someone I hated because of the Peyton rivalry. Yes, 1,000%.
Okay. Yeah, so I understand.
LeBron, who I like making fun of. He's the GOAT. I'm taking a picture with him.
What about KD?
Taking a picture with him.
Okay. Steph?
Oh, 1,000%. Begging him to play golf with me.
I'm trying to think of somebody else who's just what about Brittany Mahomes?
I'll take a picture with Brittany.
What about Jackson?
Absolutely not. I think Brittany is a product of her environment. She's like that one friend that you're like, man, if she could just get away from that friend group, she'd be fine. But she gets sucked back in. She has to hang out with Jackson every Sunday.
Yeah, that's true.
I think we should ship Jackson to Alaska. Somewhere we should build an internet for Jackson Mahomes that no one else can see but Jackson Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes has enough money to do this. He should build an internet for him where he sees these fake views, he sees the retweets, the repost, all that stuff. So he gets that, that high from it, that serotonin. Yeah, but none of it's real. Nobody else can see it but Jackson Mahomes.
That would be hilarious.
I think that'd be smart because the dude's an idiot. Clearly. And yeah. Patrick, if you're listening, let's get working on this.
Yeah.
I can
think that's
protect
a
your
great idea.
$100 million contract if you'd like.
There you go.
This is why I should be a manager. I've already gotten one person a deal just through one tweet. I can do it. We mentioned
All
Jared
right.
Dickey.
Dude, he's lighting it up.
Love it.
The GOAT.
And more important issues may have a new correspondent in AA baseball.
What?
More important issues may have a new correspondent in AA baseball. Jared's mom sending all the highlights. Like, we're never going to fall behind there.
Oh yeah, I know. I love it.
So we're good. We're
gold.
golden.
Yeah, he's lighting it up. I think he's had 10 RBIs since he joined the team. So
The man just scores. Well, and he may not score. He's an assist guy.
Yeah, I mean, all he does is hit. Professional hitter.
It was a good weekend for a lot of Vols.
It was, yeah. Chad Dallas did well.
Trey Lipscomb home run.
Trey Lipscomb,
Jake Rucker,
Drew Gilbert, Jake Rucker.
had a home run. Somebody have a triple? I almost said it was Jake Rucker.
Jared Dickey.
Jared Dickey's was a triple. That's right.
Yeah.
It was an RBI triple, right? Got on first?
Yep.
Yeah. Just love it. It's a Drew Beam effect. We have Drew Beam on the pod. They all go off. Drew, you're going to come on next week, man. We're trying to get your teammates paid.
Yeah, we got to get Xander on there too.
Yeah. Sanders coming on soon, but he has to bring Major League Chew with him when we do it. It's only
Big League Chew.
Big League Chew. Oh, I can
Major
never,
League Chew.
right. Never get it right. Major League Chew is kind of a banger of a name. I don't know why you're laughing. I think they should rebrand.
I think there would be some copyright infringement on there.
Don't care.
Yeah, whatever.
Send the cease and desist.
Yeah.
I'll piss on it.
All right. Anything else?
That's it for me.
Guys, thank y'all for listening. We really appreciate it. Thank y'all for buying up all those hats. There is one left.
Roback too.
Yep. Go
We
check
appreciate
out
everyone
Roback.
who's done it.
Yeah.
Make sure you go do it if you haven't.
Yeah, we'll tweet out another thing for that this week. But yeah, 20% off your first purchase. Use promo code More Important Issues. They got great quarter zips, hoodies, polos, shirts, shorts, joggers, pants, women's wear. So a lot of great stuff on there. Great quality. Go check that out. But we appreciate y'all listening to this episode. Thanks, Ryan, for coming on. Once again, always a great guy to talk some ball with. And we'll see you guys back on Thursday. Man, we're getting close. And we're bringing the boat in, and we out.